Terry's going to moderate. Spoke on the phone when we did that last round video. So Terrie, Carr.
Hi Dave.
Hi, how are you?
Pleasure to meet you.
Oh, thank you so much.
All right, well, first of all, Dave, thank you so much for doing this. I'm Terrie Carr from GRock. These are actually our contest winners. These folks entered among hundreds and hundreds of other folks. We actually, though, didn't just want them to enter and get on the bus and join us here. We sort of made them work for it a little bit. So they each submit 3 questions. And we sort of went through the hundreds of entries and picked the best questions for you. Not the obvious, you know, the ladies always wanted to know, how does Dave still look so hot? We get those questions out. We figured that might get boring, even though they were still asking that on the way over. But we actually had some really amazing, amazing fans today. So I think we're going to go over here first and find Maureen. So Maureen, come out, step back a little bit. And Maureen, we're actually going to go for your second question here, which I have highlighted. Maureen's questions were so unbelievable that she was like a definite obvious winner. So Maureen, why don't you ask Dave your question?
Hi Dave.
Hi Maureen.
Nice to meet you. It's a pleasure, you know, seeing you perform live. I've been a great fan of yours for years.
Thank
and
you.
my question is, are you a spiritual believer? In other words, do you believe that despite how blissful or turbulent life can be for all of us in existence, that if you have faith, love, and devotion, all can be healed, which in turn are precursors for producing a great album?
Wow, that is a good question. And put better than any of the hundreds of journalists I've been talking to for the last month. Yes, is the answer. And yeah, it's, you know, in the words of John Lennon, it's what you give, and then you get it back. But you know, you've got to be careful along the way, not to take too much.
Thank you, Maureen.
You're very welcome.
Thank
you.
you very much. Angela, I think we're going to go with your first question. I thought it was very, actually, I like your third question too. Let's go with your first question. It was kind of interesting that you actually picked up on it.
Alright, actually, I was talking about Brad. He does a great job with the Depeche Mode message board in maintaining your privacy, and I was wondering, as a public figure, where do you draw the line between what you consider private and what you consider public?
Yeah, it's really hard sometimes, but you know, I've learned over the last sort of, I guess, you know, 5-10 years that it's really important for me to protect my family and my life outside of my work. And more importantly, it's really important to not take your work home. In that, and I mean, by that I mean, you know, sometimes when you get into, especially making a record or on tour, you really get into, I really get into the performance of it all, and I get really naked. And, you know, you get to feel a lot of emotions. And sometimes they're all kind of mixed up, and it's all because you're getting in touch with like who you are. And when I go home, it's well, first of all, it's immediately grounding when, you know, I'm around my family, especially my young daughter. It doesn't take very long at all, you know, if I do a couple of cartwheels in front of me, and I realise what's really important. And for me, that's where it begins. Like, having that is really important to me, and protecting it is really important to me. And it enables me to do, I think, a lot better what I do, you know, now.
Thank you. Thanks, Angela. Celia Vasquez. So yeah, I think we'll go to, let's go to the first question.
First question, great. Okay, it's great.
Hello.
Hi. Okay, Dave, it's great to ask you this question because Enjoy the Silence is my best, I think it's the best song of all time.
She said ever of all time, ever recorded in the world.
And I know that the video was recorded in Spain. I'm from Spain, so I love the idea, but I really want to know whose idea was to record such a great video.
Well, it was Anton Corbijn's idea. And actually, when he first approached me with the idea, I was a little bit skeptical about it, to say the least. And Fletcher and Mark and Al were sort of rolling around in fits of laughter, because, first of all, because, you know, they didn't have to do anything, which is what they really like. and you know, the fact that I was going to have to dress up, I think tickled them a little. But you know, I'd learned up until that point that Anton, you know, and his idea was very vague. You know, it was like, you know, the King Dave is, you know, he has everything, but really, you know, doesn't see that he, you know, it's from inside that he's going to find what he really needs. And when he first kind of threw the idea at me, I didn't really get it, but you know, he and I went off with his camera, and we went to all these places, and you know, once we started doing it, I realised what he was getting at. It was a tough video to make, actually. There was a lot of, you know, we went to, I think, 4 different countries or something, up in, you know, in the mountains, in the sort of French Alps, and you know, Scotland, up on Balmoral, Portugal as well. But you know, I think it's one of those videos that, like, it perfectly captured the song and the emotion of the song, and it was completely unique looking, and a lot of that was to do with the fact that Anton, you know, sees through his lens, you know, kind of like, you know, he can capture through his camera, you know, what music does sometimes, and you know, that's why we've kind of stuck with Anton on and off over the years. He gets what we do.
He's also the story of Richard walking at the end.
Oh yeah, there is one part at the end of the song where, and we were up in the French Alps, and we were like 5 miles up or something like that it is, and you couldn't breathe, you couldn't walk for more than like 5 feet without, you know, this huge cloak on, I had to carry the deck chair, and the crown was frozen on my head, and it was like one of the last shots, and Anton wanted to get me walking across this untrodden snow, which I was kind of a bit nervous about anyway, because we didn't really know what was underneath it, if anything. And so I just handed the cape and the crown to Richard Bell, the producer, and I said, you know, how big am I going to be? And he said, you're going to be like this big. I said, you do it. So there's one shot in there that's him, it's the producer. Awesome. And I got in the helicopter, which was waiting, and I back down to the lodge and had a cup of hot chocolate, waiting for him to come back.
Thank you.
Thank you, Celia. Thank you so much. This is James Smith.
Hey, James.
James, I'd like question number 1. I think that'd be a good one.
Hourglass was such a great album and great sophomore effort. Did you enjoy recording this album with Christian Egner, and did it make the whole recording process easier?
It was, you know, Andrew said it in the with the DVD part of the record that comes with the record. There's like an interview that we do, and you know, when Andrew was asked a question how it was recorded, and he said, you know, it was easy, and you know, it sounded flippant at the time, and we sort of laughed, but it was a lot of fun. We did it all in my little studio here in New York, and you know, it's where I go to work. I go there every day, you know, after the kids go to school, and I sit there and, you know, most of the time do nothing. But occasionally I get an idea or something. But when I'm around Christian and Andrew, they inspire ideas, and you know, Christian and I have developed quite a relationship where he kind of knows where I'm going to go with my voice, and you know, challenges me with that, with maybe like throwing a different chord in there that you know, I wasn't hearing or something, and it enables me to use my voice in a way that's challenging, and that's one of the things that's really good about it, is doing these records, especially this record, because it gives me more confidence about there's a lot more I had to learn, and to learn about myself and my voice and how to use that. And the words, like, they come quite naturally. I don't, I mean, I sit down and I write a lot, but you know, quite often, I never really saw something was complete, but you know, I rarely write a complete sort of lyric. Quite often I'll sing gibberish, and then when we listen to it back, I'll hear a word that kind of inspires the song. And you know, it's much in the same way that Depeche has worked over the years, where you know, Martin presents us with a demo, and quite often the thing that we look for first is an interesting sound. We look for a sound that will inspire an atmosphere that will take the song put the song into a different place. You know, when you're writing and you're sticking to kind of a format of writing, quite often you get, trapped in there. And with Hourglass, we really just let it flow and let it go where it wanted to go. And within a few weeks, it started to, take shape. So it wasn't until then really that we realised that we were making a record. But first, we were just going to write songs. So.
That was great. Thanks for having us up here. It was awesome.
Yeah, I think everybody's a little, I don't know about you guys, for me, we're all like a little shell-shocked because we thought we were just getting a Q&A. And then we come in and there's like the band, and everybody's just like, and we're all like watching the band and Dave, and we're all like, and it wasn't because we were just like, whoa, we just didn't expect it. So thank you so much. And your band, I wish we could thank them like, personally. They were
really
amazing.
great.
Just
and,
amazing band, phenomenal.
I called up Martijn and we got, Martijn came straight away. And,
yep.
He's really special. He plays really in a special way and gets it. Graham's new relatively, and Kurt as well, who I've known for a long time. Here in New York has helped me out in my studio on a number of occasions and does some remix stuff as well now. And of course Andrew and Christian.
Sure.
But
yeah, we were just like,
yeah, it's weird. Like after when you finish the record, and then we rehearsed last weekend. We just rehearsed Saturday and Sunday, and the first day, by the end of the day, it was all kind of coming together.
Sure.
And it's always interesting to me because it's the same like going on tour. Like sometimes after you finish the record and you go out on tour, and after a month or so, a few weeks, songs start taking a different, they get more relaxed and they kind of take on a different energy. I've been constantly trying to convince my band for years to like maybe try something a little different in the studio. Like work out some songs in a different way in the studio, and then sort of add the atmospheres but get some energy going on like what we do live. But we've yet to do that. But I get to do it like...
See, you can't mention that. If you don't mention it and then it starts to happen, then you just go with it. Because it's almost like, people always fight.
We did it a lot more actually on Playing the Angel. It was forced upon us by Ben Hillier, who produced the album, because that's the way he works. He plays drums himself and he sits at the drums and he gave Martin the guitar every day and he said, right, play.
Right.
And Martin was all like, but he did, and I'd get on the mic and quite often we'd sort of jam an idea a bit to get feel of it first, and I think you can sort of hear that a lot more in Playing the Angel. It was exciting to do that because we haven't worked like that really before.
And you seem to really just begin to,
oh, it's great.
Not knowing what's coming next.
They're great. They're really fun to play with.
I think we have two more. We have Elodie. Elodie was somebody that while you were playing, I noticed Elodie. Stop me if I'm wrong. You sang every word, every song that David, the beginning of the band was playing. I mean, you were right on the money here.
Hi.
Hello. Hi.
I felt your energy too.
Thanks.
Thank you. It helps.
Go for 2, although I'm going to slip in 3 because I like it. Okay. She wanted to actually know if you're ever thinking about writing a book about your experiences, and if so, could she get like a reserved signed copy now? Because you've had such a rich life.
Yeah, well, I have, and but I don't know. I've been asked a couple of times.
You seem like a private guy, though. Maybe you wouldn't want.
Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of weird. Like so much stuff has been written in the press, and a lot of it which came, from me, kind of spilling my guts and needing to do that, as well on some level. But I'm a little bit more cagey about kind of the stuff I talk about now. You got to be careful. There was a period where I was talking a lot about when I first got sober and began getting sober. It was such a mind-blowing experience, to be quite honest, to be raw and to feel everything for the first time and not really know what to do with those feelings. Whoever would give me 5 minutes to talk about it, I wouldn't stop talking. So I made the mistake of talking to a lot of journalists and thinking that it was a good thing to do. But I had to be careful. It affected Mart and Fletch a lot, and they found it quite difficult to deal with. Although they were very happy, of course, that I was awake. It was a difficult time for them, so I try and steer away from that. And quite often the articles that you read, there's one coming out in Spin this month that I knew it was going in that direction when the journalist was talking to me, and I did my best to sort of steer it away from that. But it's what people want to write about on some level. So a book is like, I don't know. I think the one person that could write a really good book would be Daryl Belmonte. If it was about the band and about the characters in the band, he probably has more insight between him and Jonathan than anyone else over the years. But personal thing, I don't know. You know, I like reading those kind of books. I gotta say, I like you know, they're the kind of books I read. You know, whether it's like about Neil Young or Johnny Cash or Elvis or whatever. I find them fascinating. There's a great Stones book by Philip Norman, which is awesome. But someone said once, if a band does a book, there's always slightly different interpretations because the memory is weird. It plays tricks on you, and my interpretation of something that happened may be very different to somebody else's in the band, and that quite often happens. I think it plays tricks on it. So I haven't got any plans. No. Funny enough, I was asked the other day. Someone asked me if I would be interested in doing it, but.
So Elodie, you have a very unique name. So if that ever did happen when Dave is old and grey, and yeah. Shot him an email, I'm sure I'll get you a signed copy.
On my rocking chair on the porch,
So I'll let you go for question number 2, which I thought was cool.
How have your experiences in the studio changed over the years, especially now with all the new innovations and technology?
Mm-hmm. Well, with my band, we kind of sort of work in the same way always. It depends who you're working with. Like I said, Ben Hillier was very inspiring because he was kind of very aggressive in his way of working. Some producers are not so aggressive, and Mark Bell was great, but he was very kind of laid back, and we really need like a headmaster type producer who's going to sort of whip us into shape, because we're pretty lazy, I think, in the studio, unfortunately. Things take a long time, and they don't really necessarily have to. It doesn't, just because you take a long time on something doesn't mean it's good. But technology has changed a lot, and we've always been, right from the beginning, trying to find, like I said, sounds and things that were interesting to make pop music out of. Popular music has been done time and time and time again, and one of the beautiful things about Depeche Mode is that we took the sort of pure pop song and placed it in an unusual setting, and I think that's, for me, what makes it kind of filmic and enables me to be like a character within the film. Quite often it's always worked for me to sing songs that Martin has written for me to sing. One I've always identified with his lyrics, and we have a strange connection anyway that seems to, we have like sort of this parallel life going on that's very different at times, but we're not so different. And actually we have similar sort of upbringings, thinking certain members of your family who, were your parents, and then finding out they weren't. There's a similar sort of story there. So I think Martin and myself, when we were very young, we created our own little world to live in. And music's a perfect place to live. But sometimes, it's certainly helped me for years. But technology has changed a lot, and I think it's important not to let it use you too much. I think it's important to use the technology to get to where you want to go. But then you've got to put your own passion into it. You've got to put part of yourself into it. Otherwise, to me, it doesn't mean anything. It's just a lot of noises.
Not just singing.
Yeah, it's not. It's being it.
Thank you.
Great.
That's awesome.
Thanks, Elodie. Well, I think I missed you. Did I miss you?
I'm a guest.
You're a guest. Okay, so I guess we got everyone.
All right.
You were so vocal coming over. You were saying, well, can we change the arrangement of the questions? And I figured, well, did I miss her? But I guess not. So, see, you could just squeeze right in here.
Alright. You sent to me, so I'm satisfied.
Who wouldn't be? Dave, again, thank you so much. This has been absolutely tremendous. We've had a fantastic time. And best of luck with Hourglass. It's a great collection. And did you guys have fun?
Oh, yeah.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Awesome. Cool, thanks. All right,
Good.
Yeah, sure.